So do you just like do whatever you want these days and just occasionally act when it comes up?
Yeah, if it comes up, like, if it's a cool, like, neat little gig or something like that, like, yeah, sure. But like I said, I don't pursue it in any kind of, like, any way. Lots of weird things happen to kids all the time, all around the world, every day. I have something to show for it.
I'm saying that there are people that were the people that did this to both me and Corey that are still working, they're still out there, and they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business.
And they are
And they do not want me saying what I'm saying right now.
Are you saying that they're pedophiles?
Yes.
The Culkin family have just revealed the darkness behind Hollywood.
I don't think he would have done anything to anyone else.
The truth is out, and things are about to get complicated. The Culkin family, famous for their talent and turbulent history, is finally ready to reveal the secrets they've been guarding. At 43, Macaulay Culkin and his siblings are speaking out, addressing the rumors and speculation that have surrounded them for years. From their unconventional upbringing to the startling revelations about their father, Kit Culkin, this is your chance to take a deeper look into the lives of one of Hollywood's most captivating families. Let's delve into their story. Before diving into the Culkin family's shocking admissions, it's essential to understand their complex history and the events that led to their recent revelations. Early challenges in the Culkin family. Kit Culkin's early days in the entertainment industry were promising, but his road to success was not without its challenges. He had some notable roles on Broadway, including The King and I and The Music Man, and also appeared on television in the 70s. But despite his talent, Kit struggled to achieve lasting success and financial stability. His career was full of ups and downs, and he couldn't seem to catch a break. Later, he met Patricia Brentrup, and their relationship was anything but typical from the start. They met in 1974 while Patricia, a 19-year-old countryside girl from North Dakota, was directing Traffic. Kit, an upcoming actor with a ponytail, approached her in his pickup truck. The two quickly left town, driving east and living like hippies until they reached Manhattan, where Kit grew up. Despite never officially getting married, they lived together as a couple and had 7 children: Macaulay, Christian, Dakota, Kieran, Rory, Shane, and Quinn, over the next decade and a half. As Kit's acting dreams took a back seat, his family became his first priority. He worked numerous jobs to make ends meet, including one at a local Catholic church. This not only helped pay the expenses, but it also resulted in a tuition discount for his children. The family of 9 squeezed into a tiny 2-bedroom apartment in New York City, where financial stress was a daily companion. To stay afloat, Kit and Patricia swapped work schedules, ensuring that someone was always home with the kids. Kit's church job helped, and Patricia pitched in with a job at a telephone answering service. Life was difficult for the Culkin children, who were raised in cramped quarters and frequently had to fend for themselves. Kieran later joked that they were all a little nuts. Despite the instability, Patricia remained grounded, prioritizing family time, patterns, and values. She made sure they ate together, celebrated holidays, and even had a Christmas tree each year. Then, in 1990, things changed. Macaulay, only 10 years old, landed the lead role in Home Alone and became an overnight sensation. The film's massive success propelled Macaulay to prominence and turned Kit into a Hollywood power player. The Culkin family was suddenly thrust into the spotlight, and their lives would never be the same. Macaulay Culkin's acting career began at a young age. He started off with commercials before making his film debut with Rocket Gibraltar in 1988. However, it was his performance in 1989's Uncle Buck, starring John Candy, that really placed him on the map. His performance intrigued director Chris Columbus, who was looking for a talented young lead for his next movie, Home Alone, and the rest, as they say, is history. Macaulay's stellar performance in Home Alone propelled him to global prominence and made him a household name. Home Alone premiered in Chicago on November 10, 1990, and was released nationwide a week later, and they enjoyed it. The film was a huge success, generating over $476 million worldwide and becoming the highest-grossing live-action comedy at the time. Macaulay Culkin's performance as Kevin McAllister won him the prestigious Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. The film itself received a nomination for Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. Macaulay's quick climb to prominence propelled him to global superstardom, transforming him into a well-known household name. His charming face was everywhere, including posters, t-shirts, lunchboxes, and cereal boxes. The financial benefits were massive, with Macaulay earning $100,000 for the first film and $4.5 million for the sequel, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. The Culkin family's financial troubles vanished overnight, leaving them to live a life of luxury and possibilities. They were living their dream. Kit Culkin's profile climbed quickly in the early 90s, with Premiere magazine naming him as the 40th most prominent person in Hollywood in 1993. He was regarded as a competent manager who had expertise in the entertainment industry. However, his success became overwhelming, and he began to alienate industry insiders with his aggressive bargaining tactics and attempts to exert creative control over Macaulay's projects. Studio bosses grew tired of Kit's demands, which frequently included promoting his other children and exerting control over casting and screenplays. His reputation went down the drain, and people began to regard him as a stage father gone crazy. Kit's antics behind the scenes were causing mayhem as Macaulay's career continued to burn bright, with hits like Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, and My Girl. Reports of his explosive temper and overbearing parenting style painted a troubling picture of a father more concerned with exploiting his son's talent than fostering his childhood. Macaulay would eventually expose the toxic truth, describing their relationship as a pressure cooker of stress driven by Kit's jealousy of his son's success. This toxic dynamic destroyed the family, weakening communication and trust, and laying the groundwork for a dramatic downfall. The tide started to turn for Kit in 1994, when Macaulay's film Richie Rich flopped at the box office. This was an important juncture in Macaulay's career, as he tried to move from child star to young adult actor. Kit's reputation as a savvy manager began to unravel, and industry insiders saw him as a controlling and opportunistic stage father. The term box office poison stuck, and the family's fortunes began to plummet. As the situation got out of control, Patricia intervened to safeguard her children's interests, resulting in a long custody battle with Kit. The once unified Culkin family was now at war, with their relationships and reputations on the line. Impact of family conflicts. Kit's ambition and desire to control Macaulay's career caused tensions with Patricia, who prioritized her children's well-being over financial gain. The cracks in Kit and Patricia's relationship had been visible for years, but their conflicting priorities finally led to a heartbreaking split in 1995. The once united front collapsed, trapping their 7 children in the crossfire. The subsequent custody struggle was a media spectacle, with both sides swapping allegations and counter-accusations. Patricia's claims about Kit's physical violence, drinking, and infidelity revealed a bleak picture of a guy who had once been praised as a caring father and manager. Although they were never officially married, they had 7 children together, and when they split up, they battled over who would take care of the children. The family's newfound wealth and fame had already strained their ties, but the separation made things even worse. Patricia sought sole custody because she believed Kit's actions were harming the children. The kids were very upset and didn't want to have anything to do with their dad. Macaulay and Kieran, who were teenagers at the time, made it clear that they did not want to see Kit again. The court's decision to grant Patricia sole custody was a crushing defeat for Kit, since he lost not only the power to make decisions for his children, but also the opportunity to have a say in their lives. This ruling marked an important phase in Kit's relationship with his children, as he became increasingly disconnected from their lives. The once powerful Hollywood figure, who had basked in the limelight of Macaulay's success, was now confined to the sidelines, watching his children grow up without him. Kieran Culkin has opened up about how his father's absence affected him and his siblings. They grew up watching their parents' fights and eventual separation, which caused a lot of pain and stress. In interviews, he has publicly discussed the difficulty of dealing with his father's violent and controlling behavior. He has also stated that his father put his personal interests before his children's needs. When his parents were fighting for custody, Kieran and his siblings felt like they were caught in the crossfire. Macaulay wanted to break away from his father's toxic influence and start over. He wanted to make a name for himself without his father's help. Macaulay has said that his father hurt many people, including his mother, and made them cry, and he has openly admitted that his father was mean to him. The custody battle and separation had a lasting effect on the Culkin family. Kit's absence from his children's lives was an important aspect of their stories. They needed to figure out who they were without him. Meanwhile, Kit's influence in Hollywood began to wane. He was no longer the powerful figure he once was. Instead, his children's success and their delicate family dynamics became the focus. As the Culkin family navigated turmoil and tragedy, Macaulay, now a rising star, began to assert his independence, seeking to forge his own path beyond childhood fame. Macaulay's quest for independence. Macaulay became Hollywood's highest-paid child actor, earning between $15 to $20 million from various films and projects. He was just a kid, but he was raking in the cash. However, all that money brought lots of problems. During his parents' salty custody battle, the bone of contention was mainly about who would control his money, resulting in a bitter custody fight. As the fight worsened, so did Macaulay's relationship with his father, Kit. By the time Macaulay was a teenager, he had chosen to give up acting and live a normal life away from Hollywood drama. As Macaulay grew older, he began to question how his parents managed his money. He had initially trusted them to make sound decisions, but now he was concerned that they were taking advantage of him. He understood they were in control of his earnings and making decisions without his involvement. This was terrifying, especially when he learned how much money his father had taken from him. He wanted to be in charge of his own finances and make his own decisions. He wanted to be in charge of his own life and money. So he made a major step and removed his parents' names from his trust fund. This fund was intended to protect his profits, but Macaulay was concerned that his parents would misuse the money. Instead, he sought someone else to handle his accounts, someone he could trust to keep his money safe. This decision was crucial to Macaulay's independence and future. He wanted to ensure that he had full control over his life and finances, and that his parents could no longer make decisions for him. By taking this step, he was able to safeguard his money and future, and he no longer had to rely on his parents for financial decisions. When Macaulay decided to seize ownership of his trust fund, the media made a big deal about it. They claimed he was emancipating himself from his parents, which was not totally true. Macaulay explained that he simply wanted to secure his money and make his own judgments, free of his parents' influence. He thought it was a responsible decision to remove their control and make things clearer. He wished to handle the legal concerns regarding his custody and finances in a quick and fair manner. He was tired of the drama and bickering, and he wanted to get on with his life. He was able to detach himself from his parents' conflicts by taking charge of his finances. Taking control of his life was not just about the money, it was about breaking free from his past. Growing up, he felt overshadowed by his father's domineering nature and the complexities of his family ties. Macaulay wished to break free from the past and forge his own path. By taking control of his trust fund, he was able to assert his independence and make his own judgments. Macaulay's journey to independence was hampered by the demands of being a popular kid star. Following the popularity of Home Alone, he had to deal with the public's high expectations and constant scrutiny from the media. Every step he took was scrutinized and criticized, adding to the challenge of taking control of his life. His life took a dramatic turn when he was arrested for possession of drugs and controlled substances. Also, he got dragged into hitmaker Michael Jackson's child molestation trial, and his struggles with anxiety and depression, which intensified the media scrutiny. But as time went on, he had to figure out how to be a public figure while simultaneously reviving his personal identity, a difficult balancing act that many child stars face as they grow older. After gaining control of his finances, Macaulay sought to change how the public saw him. He realized that the media typically concentrated on his background as a child star rather than his current pursuits. To tackle this, he began exploring new creative ventures. He made music, formed a band called the Pizza Underground, and even launched a podcast. In recent years, Macaulay has taken on new challenges that demonstrate his growth as an actor. He has chosen roles that surprise people and make them see him in a different light. His role in the television series American Horror Story marked a significant change from his childhood roles. This move in his career has given him the opportunity to showcase his range and diversity as an actor. By taking on more complex and diverse roles, Macaulay has shown that he is a brilliant actor, capable of portraying a wide range of characters, and not just the kid from Home Alone. His personal life has been an important part of his journey to self-discovery. His relationship with actress Brenda Song has provided him with a sense of stability and support, allowing him to build a life free of the pressures of fame. They welcomed their first child together in 2021, and Macaulay is determined to be a caring and present father, unlike his own childhood experiences. A family divided. The hold that Macaulay's father had on his life started to loosen as he became more self-reliant. Kit's impact diminished as Macaulay embarked on his own journey, and the gap between them widened. What made matters worse was that Kit had already lost custody of his children to Patricia Brentrup, meaning he had very little, if any, visitation rights. The bond between Kit and his children became more frail because of this. As Kit's involvement in their lives grew increasingly precarious, Macaulay and his siblings had to steer their father-son ties with caution. Their already problematic family dynamics were further compounded by this. Macaulay remembered how his father, Kit, suddenly vanished silently. "One day, my father just wasn't around anymore. He left without explaining why to anyone," Macaulay said. During the custody fight and Macaulay's ascent to popularity, Kit's family life began to crumble, and this was a symbol of his growing distancing from them. Kierans Culkin, Macaulay's brother, echoed this sentiment, recalling how they initially failed to notice their father's absence. He thought it was funny that nobody seemed to care about Kit's whereabouts. The absence of their father didn't affect the Culkin children much because their mother had always been there for them. After Kit lost ties with his family, he relocated to a one-bedroom apartment 9 floors above their home. Just as an emotional gulf had grown over the years, so had this physical gulf. He tried to get in touch with Macaulay and Kieran, but they both made it plain that they didn't want anything to do with him. After seeing the destructive effects of their father's actions on themselves, the brothers were resolute in their decision to cut ties with him. The withdrawal from Kit had a devastating effect on their mental health. Their father's tyrannical rule cast a long shadow over Macaulay's and his siblings' formative years at home. Even the physical and psychological abuse inflicted by Kit had profound effects on the family. Later in life, Macaulay spoke about his father, Kit, as someone who hurt people a lot, highlighting the suffering that Kit's deeds caused. In a letter that was included in his book Junior, Macaulay articulated his emotions of fear and betrayal, mentioning that his father had shown him what it was like to be afraid. This admission of pain and terror highlighted the significance of Macaulay's struggle for emotional and psychological independence, not just financially. The unfaltering support of their mother provided comfort to the Culkin siblings as Kit's withdrawal from family life persisted. In spite of everything that had happened, Patricia Brentrup had always been there for her family, offering stability and care. She stressed the significance of family unity and support while instilling strong family values in her children. Patricia, in stark contrast to Kit's evasiveness, was always there for them, offering advice and encouragement no matter what. Macaulay took a giant leap toward recovery and self-discovery when he decided to stop interacting with Kit and take charge of his own finances. When he realized how important it was to surround himself with positive influences, he started to put his mental health first. This change freed him from the constraints of his past and the celebrity he had enjoyed as a child, allowing him to rediscover who he was. Over the years that followed, Kit remained out of the spotlight. His children, including Macaulay, Kieran, and others, went on to great success and stardom in their own right. Kit's children's success and the tangled family dynamics brought him down from his once prominent Hollywood status. Even though he made an effort to reconnect with his children, they were unwilling to forgive and forget. After encountering pushback in his efforts at reconciliation, Kit was left to exist in quiet oblivion, a mere reflection of his past self. In 2001, Kit's life encountered a challenging twist. He resided in poverty in Arizona, a considerable distance from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. He dedicated most of his time to watching his children's movies, reflecting on his past, and pondering the unfortunate turn of events. After years of being apart, Kit felt a strong desire to mend the broken bonds with his family. In 2014, Kit made a move towards reconciliation by attending a play where his son Kieran was performing. Despite his reservations, Kieran was reluctant to embrace his father's return. He had always respected his mother's resilience in raising their family and was wary of Kit's motives. Kieran had conflicting emotions during the visit, unsure if he was prepared to welcome him back. Years later, in a 2016 interview with the Daily Mail, Kit emphasized that he no longer saw Macaulay as his son and that they had no relationship. This was a clear and definitive acknowledgement of the distance between them. Kit had a complex and conflicting set of emotions when it came to Macaulay. While he had encouraged Macaulay's success in Hollywood, the pressure and control ultimately strained their relationship. However, Kit's efforts to mend their strained relationship demonstrated a genuine desire for reconciliation, despite his imperfect approach. Their rough past caused Kit to have mixed feelings about Macaulay. Even though he was a big part of Macaulay's early success, his bossy behavior caused a split between them that grew over time. Even so, Kit's attempts to get back in touch showed a strong desire to make things right and rebuild their friendship. For his part, Macaulay had moved on from the bad things that happened to him as a child. He found comfort in his mother's constant support and in the love of his partner, Brenda Song. He had taken back who he was, free from the restrictions of his youth and the weight of his past. But the scars from his father's abuse stayed with him and shaped how he lived his life and interacted with others. But just as Macaulay was finding his footing, the Culkin family was hit with another wave of tragedy, forcing them to confront their deepest pain, the tragedies and admissions. As the Culkin family's story progresses, the flames of tragedy ignite, leaving a shadow of pain and strength. On December 23, 1998, a large fire broke out in the Culkin family's 19th floor flat, causing widespread devastation. A space heater malfunctioned, igniting a piece of paper, which began the fire. Patricia, the mother, swiftly contacted 911 and evacuated her children from the apartment. Although they narrowly survived, several neighbors died, and 4 firefighters were injured while attempting to extinguish the fire. Following the fire, the Culkin family had to cope with both emotional and legal issues. Many people criticized Patricia, the mother, for not being vigilant enough to keep her home safe. This criticism was made even more difficult to stomach because the fire occurred right before Christmas. The holiday season, which was traditionally a time of joy and camaraderie, was now tarnished by pain and guilt. Patricia was dealing with not just the loss and sorrow, but also the weight of blame for the disaster. The incident received extensive media publicity, and Patricia was hit with a high-profile lawsuit claiming $80 million in damages. The relatives of those who died in the fire were suing her for negligence. Patricia and her children dealt with a double blow as a result of the case. During the time that they were forced to confront the legal struggle, they were still suffering from the pain of the fire and the loss of their house. The family was subjected to an enhanced level of public scrutiny and media attention as a result of the litigation, which resulted in a significant financial burden for them. Already, Patricia was going through a difficult period of her life. Things became much more difficult for her as a result of the occurrence and the blame that was attached to it. Her relationship problems, the stress of the lawsuit, and the attention from the media all came at the same time, and she had to cope with all of them at once. Everyone in the family went through a really challenging period of life. In the aftermath of the fire and the subsequent legal issues, the Culkin family was compelled to relocate to a new residential location. They moved into the flat that Macaulay had previously shared with Rachel Miner, who was his wife at the time. A substantial emotional shift occurred for the family as a result of this transfer, which was not only a requirement from a logistical standpoint. While his family was going through this challenging time, Macaulay, who had gained a great deal of fame as a child actor, demonstrated his willingness to support them. The fact that he was prepared to take in his mother and siblings was a tangible manifestation of the strong link that they maintained, in spite of the difficulties they encountered. In the midst of the commotion, Patricia and her children found a feeling of security in Macaulay's apartment, which served as a brief oasis for them to take refuge in. Macaulay assumed a more prominent role as a caregiver and protector as a result of the move, which also represented a change in the dynamic of the family. In a subsequent statement, he referred to the experience of bringing his family together in the aftermath of the fire as a moment that was both bittersweet and emotional. The fact that he was able to provide for his family during such a difficult period of time gave him a sense of pride, despite the fact that the situation was awful. The Culkin family underwent long-lasting consequences as a result of the fire catastrophe and the related lawsuit following it. Family connections were put under strain as a result of the emotional trauma caused by the occurrence, which was compounded by the stress caused by the legal processes. Patricia was subjected to criticism and blame, which significantly exacerbated the difficulties she already experienced as a single mother who was responsible for the upbringing of 7 children. Having said that, the Culkin siblings relied on one another for assistance, which served to highlight the significance of the relationships that exist within the family. When the Culkin family had reached the point where they believed they had been through enough suffering, they were confronted with yet another tragic catastrophe that put their perseverance and strength to the test once more. Dakota, the eldest daughter of Kit and Patricia Culkin, passed away in a car accident on December 9, 2008, when she was just 29 years old. This was yet another occasion on which the Culkin family was struck by tragedy. She was crossing Lincoln Boulevard in front of Brennan's Irish Pub in Marina del Rey, California, when she got hit by a car. Immediately after the accident, Dakota was transported to the UCLA Medical Center, where she fought for her life for a duration of 2 days after she sustained significant head injuries, which ultimately led to her death on December 11, 2008. The driver who struck Dakota remained at the site and cooperated with the authorities after the accident. Following an investigation, it was determined that the driver was not at fault, and so no charges were brought against them. The Culkin family, who were in a state of mourning, found little solace in the fact that the tragedy was determined to be an accident. The Culkin family was deeply affected by Dakota's passing, adding to the challenges they had already faced. Her younger brother, Macaulay Culkin, who had gained immense popularity and wealth as a child actor in the Home Alone films, decided to temporarily step away from his acting career to mourn the passing of his sister. Macaulay decided not to continue with the film Scott Pilgrim vs. the World because he was deeply affected by Dakota's passing. Following the tragic event, her brother Kieran expressed his heartfelt tribute to his sister. He spoke highly of Dakota, calling her the funniest person in the family and commending her for her unique and twisted sense of humor. Kieran also expressed the deep impact of Dakota's death on the family, acknowledging that it will always be a devastating loss. It's always going to be devastating. I still weep about it out of nowhere. Something funny she did will pop in my head and make me laugh, and then I'm weeping, he stated. The fact that Dakota passed away shortly before Christmas only deepened the grief felt by the Culkin family. And also, the realization that it occurred at roughly the same time as the fire incident the previous year really added salt to the injury. Dakota was a loving sister, daughter, and aunt, and it was hard for them to deal with her death. She was no longer there for the holidays, and that hurt. The family talked about Dakota's life and work while they were sad about her death. Dakota's famous brothers and sisters were in the show business, but she worked in the movie business behind the scenes, making art and ideas for movies. She presumably decided to avoid the limelight since she witnessed firsthand how her family struggled under the weight of Macaulay's stardom. Family and friends of Dakota will always remember and honor her, even though she may not have wanted to be famous. Let us know what you think about the Culkin family in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the next video on your screen to see more interesting videos like this.